Everyone, and welcome to another episode of OneMicNite. You already know it's me, Marcos Luis. I'm the host, and I want to thank everybody, every single body, for joining me for these last 2 seasons. And as you know, OneMicNite's been along for 16 years, an artist supporting other artists. So please, if you can, make sure you support me. You can go to anchor.fm/OneMicNite to show some love. So I'm here supporting other artists, giving spotlight to people that you may not even know, and some people you do know. So today, I want to get right into it because I'm so excited. My guest is a musical director of the Red Bank Catholic High School. She's a music director of the Misfits Theater Company in Manalapan. I hope I'm saying that right, New Jersey. She teaches voice, piano. She's a singer, songwriter. She's an entrepreneur. She's everything. Please welcome Melody Stevens to OneMicNite. Melody, how you doing?
Oh, good. It's nice to be here. Me.
Thank you so much for joining me here. I'm so happy. Listen, I have questions. The first question is, who is Melody Stevens? Yeah.
Really good question.
Yeah.
Well, you introduced me. I mean, there's a lot of hype in that introduction,
Somehow I know you live up to it, so don't worry about that.
I was everything, and I am. Let's see. I guess it's very seasoned in music. Like I just took to it from the time I was probably a wee kid, and from a very musical family. They named me Melody. That is my real name. I'm of the Jewish faith, and my name in Hebrew is Miriam Shira, which means Miriam sings. So, is that interesting?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I was given that name, and so I guess all these years I just figured, I don't know, they just like the name or something, but. Recently, a friend of mine, actually our mutual friend, Evita, we went down and visited my 100-year-old grandma. My parents are deceased, but my grandma's still alive, and she's all there. And Evita asked her, how I got my name, how Melody. And my grandma said, because we all thought she'd be a singer. And I was like, what? Really?
Wow.
She's like,
wow.
Yeah, really? So, but everybody in my family sings. So it just, yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How did people in your family sing, or were they in the business somehow? So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, nobody full-time professional for a whole career, but, on and off, my grandmother on my mother's side sang on the radio, and my uncle was a nightclub singer for a while, and everybody's been in choirs. My father was a lay cantor at his temple. My sister sings. My daughter is a musical theater major. She's 19. My husband and I met through the Classical Music Lovers Exchange. So I guess I've just always kind of been immersed in this, I guess from the time before I was born, and they decided to name me. So
you had no other pathway to go. That was it.
Kind of stuck with it. Right?
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. So what was your life growing up like? I mean, what were you surrounded by a certain kind of music, or were you exposed to all different types of music, or what was the journey like?
Well, the first time I really remember loving music was actually in Temple. And we used to go on Friday nights, Saturdays, and I remember my dad, who was a tenor, a beautiful voice. We just used to sing these beautiful melodies in Temple together. My mother too. My mother could harmonize just on the spot with anything, and my baby sister got the gift too. And we just all sang. And I remember we had a cantor in our temple who played the guitar and made it really a lot of fun for us families and kids. And basically, wherever music was, there I was, I mean, it's just always my favorite thing to do. So
singing, and then musical instruments too. Did you play instruments growing up?
Yeah. So when I was about 9 years old, I had this friend named Leonard. He lived around the corner from me, and I was over his house, and he played the piano. And I remember he played The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, and I was like, forget it. So I ran home. I said, Mom, I want to learn piano. And so my mother was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And we went and we got this, excuse me, this old piano from my Aunt Myrna. And there was like writing all over the keys, because like her kids had grown up with the piano, but we got it for free and got it at my house and put it in the room of we had a very like little tiny house, but we managed to like put the piano somewhere. And piano teacher, Leonard's piano teacher, Mrs. Scudder at the time, no, Miss Scudder, and then she got married, Mrs. Knight. She was very strict British. She came over and gave me piano lessons, and from the first piano lesson, I just like took to it. I was like, oh, it like felt like home. So
that's so interesting. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like almost everybody wants to start out playing the piano, because it seems like it's the basis of just music. You have the harmony, you have the melody, you have all those things there. And once you learn that, you sort of graduate onto other things. That was kind of my dream too, was to play the piano. It never happened, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's nice having a piano to accompany myself singing, it's and it's served me well, and as a music teacher, and all these years. And yeah, I just kind of never wanted to leave the piano or the studio singing or all of that.
It's so funny to see you, because for everybody who's listening, you got to watch the video too, because when you see Melody, it's almost like she's hugging herself when she speaks about it, because I can see the love in your eyes for the music. It's incredible. I love that. So where did the piano take you? You said something about teaching.
Yeah. So well, I teach voice and piano. I've got a so blessed to have so many wonderful, talented, enthusiastic students of all ages in my studio. It's just an absolute joy.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so how did that come about, the studio? Well, for a really long time, for about 20 years, I owned a music school. And it was a big music school with hundreds and hundreds of students for a long time. And over time, I missed the music so much that, I was like a business person for a while and gave up the teaching and the performing, and, but it just kind of called to me. So now I'm back to music teaching solely.
So let's backtrack a little bit. You mentioned performing. Where did that come from? What was the journey from that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want to know.
Okay, so remember I said wherever there was music, there I was. Okay, so I do remember my first role in a musical. I was the ringmaster in a little third grade musical in my elementary school. It was called Melvin the Magnificent Clown. And I still remember one or two of my lines. And I remember I just had to like take a deep breath and project my voice so that it like went to like the back of the auditorium, and I could do it. And it was really fun.
And most kids can't. So that's right. Huge. Yeah.
I've never been shy. So
wow.
Yeah, I mean, stage fright, yeah, I've had to like get over that like all the time, because just, it's normal to have nerves, but I've developed strategies for myself and my students to get over that. But yeah, when you're in third grade, I think I don't know, I think I was a little bit more fearless when I was really young. But yeah, about the same time I started taking piano lessons, I got that role as the ringmaster in the circus for that little show that we did. I remember after my lines, there was like this big song that we all sang called Melvin the Magnificent Clown. And right?
Wow.
But yeah, from then I was just kind of hooked. And I was just in any kind of choir or group I could, possibly be in. And, sometimes I would audition and not get into the show, but I just wanted to be around it. So then, like, I remember they did Pirates of Penzance my freshman year of high school, and I tried out, didn't make it, but I still wanted to be around. So I became the costume coordinator. So I sewed everybody's costumes and their, all these white skirts I had to make. And it was great because I just got to be around it.
Yeah,
And
of course.
by the time I was then I was a featured dancer, actually, without hardly any dance lessons. In my sophomore year, we did Barnum, and we did that with James Barber, who was on Broadway for 10 years as the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera. And
Wow.
he also played Beast in Beauty and the Beast. And so, yeah, so he was Barnum when I was that featured dancer.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I took my daughter to Phantom when he was there, and we got to walk across town and talk to him. He gave my daughter all kinds of advice, and that was really cool. So that was my sophomore year of high school. Then junior year, I had one of the leads in Pippin. And then I remember senior year, I got like a little minor part in Funny Girl. And I remember my parents gave me the wisest advice, because it was hard to go from like having a lead to like a little part, right, the next year. I deal with that now being a high school musical theater director.
Right.
And yeah, in fact, we just had auditions for our Little Mermaid at the high school, and I feel like I'm reliving my high school experience. But my parents gave me the wisest advice. It doesn't matter what you get. You just do your very best with whatever you get, and you be grateful.
That's right. Yes.
Right? I know.
That's right.
I had parents, and I had a little tap dancing solo without any tap dance lessons whatsoever.
Wow.
It was so fun, that little part.
Right. Because there's always something you can learn from that too. Even though you're not the lead, you've got to be open to learn something from that experience. I just had the same experience. I just had that same experience. I went back on stage this year I haven't been on stage for 7 years. The first show we did, I was the lead in the show. The second show we did, my role got reduced. There were 4 leads, but my role had to be reduced because the play was cut down from 2 hours to 90 minutes. So I had to take a little slice of humble pie and be like, listen, I got to learn and watch and appreciate. Fast forward to the woman who was in the show wins the lead actress award for the entire festival.
Wow.
So what, you have to learn something from that.
Yeah.
I'm happy. But I learned a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Good for you. Good for them.
Yeah, I told all the kids, because our cast list is going up in a couple of days. And I sent out an impassioned email about, be grateful, whatever you get.
Absolutely.
If you're a sea creature, or if you're Ariel, or if you're whatever, in the show, we need you, especially now because of COVID. We had to understudy the whole, and that's for the high school that I work at. So we had to, understudies, for pretty much everybody, just in case, but yeah. Anyway, let's see. So then I remember talking to my guidance counselor in high school and saying, about colleges, and well, I only want to go to a college if it has a good music department. And I kept telling him I was undecided as to my major. I said, but it has to have a good music department. Finally, like about the 4th time I had a meeting with my guidance counselor on this college choice thing, he said, Melody, why don't you just major in music? And I was like, what? You can do that?
That's funny.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right. And, I remember, though, my father was very skeptical, and he said, you need to have a marketable skill. So why don't you major in business? Right. So,
yeah. I know that well. Yeah.
Very well meaning. Right. So I kind of compromised and I majored, instead of performance, I majored in music ed so that I could get a teaching certificate. But it wound up, when I was at Mason Grove School of the Arts, I did get a whole lot of performing experience, mostly in opera, which which was lovely. And I got my teaching degree. And long story short, I wound up owning a music school. So it was
Right.
kind of what my father was thinking for me, and kind of like, my passion, like all wrapped up in one. And I got to do a whole lot of private voice and piano teaching. And but then I also learned about the hiring process and all kinds of things in business over those 20 years. So very, very useful skills. Very useful, and useful for me now as an independent musician and music teacher
Right.
with 6, 7, 8 different jobs at once. So
How do you feel the business has changed? I mean, coming from, like you just said, from where you started in school and thinking, oh, I just want to do music, to where we are now, to almost everybody being their own business, to market themselves and to put their music out, and, to find some sort of entrepreneurial skill to make it work.
to be honest, I mean, spiritually and I'm thriving more than I ever have, for sure,
Mm.
because and I was just talking to a colleague of mine about this, actually one of my bandmates. So Vita's, that how we know each other, Vita's a drummer in our band Way Past Midnight, which I'll tell you about that later. But another bandmate I was talking to earlier, and you know, I've become, after all these years doing everything that I've done, I really believe in do what you love and the money will follow.
Yes. Yes.
And I
Amen.
honestly, if I do have advice for anybody that wants to major in music, don't have a plan B. Don't have a plan B. Just go for it. Just go
Yes.
for it. Because when I'm coming from the heart, and by the way, I'm glad I majored in music ed, because I did fall in love with the music teaching side of it, as well as the performing. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
right. So so anyway,
So no plan
the
B.
no plan B.
Hmm.
And when I guess, okay, for instance, we're having this Disney workshop coming up where students get to perform with my band. We work up 12 Disney songs and perform them in one weekend, and it's like a big music intensive we're having. And I can't think about the money. As soon as I think about the money, I go stressed. So instead, I'm thinking about, okay, what do I want these students to have? What can we do for them? How can they benefit? And I really have to put the student first, and just get out of my own way, get out of my head, right?
Right.
And everything just kind of comes together. So, private student wise, I'm doing my thing. Also, being a teacher, I'm always a student. So I continue, yeah, I
Yes.
continue to take
Yes.
voice from a wonderful woman specialist down in Maryland. I take them online. I'm here in New Jersey. And jazz piano lessons I've been taking. I have a classical background, but I wanted to get better at other styles. So I've been taking, in the pandemic, I started taking jazz piano lessons, and
Melody,
learning
you're speaking to my
chords.
soul right now. You are speaking to
Yeah.
my soul. This is what I want people to know. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off just a little bit. How was the pandemic for you? Because for most people, listen, if you didn't learn something during the pandemic about yourself, about the direction of life you want to go in, you missed out on a great opportunity. That was like
And,
the best
and
learning time of all.
yes, so I worked up over 400 songs during the pandemic. I called them Quarantunes, and I just did that.
Quarantunes.
Quarantunes, yeah,
Quarantunes. Okay.
yeah. So, but I've described my musical theater background, and it's a really big thing in this household. My daughter's a musical theater major.
Mhm.
It's a huge thing here in our house. And when Broadway shut down, both as a voice teacher and also, as somebody who just loves musical theater and Broadway, it was a very scary time. It was mid-March 2020, right? So
Yes.
So yes, I've always been one to make lemonade out of lemons, and this was a boatload of lemons. So I had to make a boatload of lemonade. So I was like, okay, how can I be helpful? How can I still be useful? My, students are quitting left and right. Everything's going online. All of a sudden I had a dangerous job. Teaching singing was dangerous. Conducting a choir was dangerous. Singing in a choir was even more dangerous. It was crazy. I'm like, oh my God, I've got a hazardous job. So, we were all on lockdown, and many, me and my colleagues, we were, fighting potential depression, definitely anxiety. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And one day I just sang the song, You Never Walk Alone. And I sent it out to a friend of mine who I thought could use it. And he said, wow, that was amazing. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for sending it. I got to talking to him. I said, maybe I'll do this once a day. Maybe I'll work up a song every day until Broadway reopens.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and he was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So I was like, oh, it's like a one day at a time concert of one song a day. And so then I had to get an audience. So I just kind of reached out to my, closest friends and family and said, hey, do you want to receive a song from me every day? And of course, I'm kind of setting them up. They have to say yes.
Right. Because, because they are who they are.
I don't want to scam my family and friends.
Right.
But,
and that's why we love them, because they're our biggest supporters for whatever we do.
Totally,
they go first. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well,
shout out to my family for supporting me.
I know. So, I built up to an audience of 46 people. I sent them individual texts every single day for 539 days, which is how long Broadway was shut down.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, from March 24th, 2020 was the first cartoon I put out, to when it officially opened on September 14th, 2021. So that was 539 days. So 539 Quarantunes. Everybody got a text at 8:00 every morning, which is very consistent. And I my goodness, did I learn, whoa, oh my goodness, all the jazz chords, that I learned. I know what a ninth and an 11th is. I'm like, wow.
I love it. I love that. I love it.
That's not, it's not a thing, right? But yeah, it's I know I'm not scared of a flat 9 chord or something like that. I had never written a song before in my life, so 14 of those Quarantunes were originals. Yeah, and along the way I formed a band of we are extremely eclectic, everything from rock to opera. I've got very eclectic taste in music. So, I'll sing The Doors, or I'll sing Puccini, whatever. So yeah, we've been fortunate. We've only been together a little over 6 months, but we have been booked by a booking agent and several gigs, and we were hardworking, employed in December, a lot of Christmas stuff, holiday stuff. We've got concerts coming up, and we're just doing our thing.
That's a beautiful thing. I love that. Yeah. I just want to say something about the songs, the Quarantunes, and I hope you can trademark that too. But you know what I mean? Just first of all, bringing joy and happiness to people during the pandemic, during quarantine time, is amazing. And two, pushing yourself, you know what I mean? And finding new avenues and finding new ways to make yourself happy and to get yourself out of the depression and having something to look forward to. That's the beauty of it all.
It saved my mental health. It really,
absolutely.
The music saved my mental health. Sometimes some of the Joni Mitchell tunes that I did, they were hard, and they took 8 hours in the day to work up, it was scratch. And yes, a very good point about the mental health issue. Yeah,
absolutely. Because we all went through it. We all went through a sort of depression. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know where we were, but we had that time to figure out where we could go. if you could
Right.
just get yourself out of it for a minute and just say, hey, where can I go now? What can the future look like? We're not sure what it is, what's going to happen, but what can I do? You know, what can I do?
What can I do to help? Yeah, where it was coming from. I also researched all the songs, so everybody got like a message, you know, about, sometimes it was about how the song related to what was going on in my life, or maybe a past story. Like I did Night and Day one day, and that was my wedding song, so I wrote about how me and my husband met.
Love it.
And I was like entertaining people through the writings as well that went with the text and the voice memo. So yeah, I learned so much all this too.
I was going to say, I don't know if you have the time and if you can still do it, but there's maybe another business venture for you happening.
Maybe.
I mean, people would love to, you know, you click. I'd love to send a friend a song just to brighten their day every morning, you know, send somebody a song.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like all the time I get messages in the morning, good morning, or somebody send me a, you know, I have a blessed day or whatever this message is. I would love to get a song.
It's awesome.
Yo.
So now I'm doing it once a week, so I have to put you on my list.
Thank you.
So
I would love that.
And send somebody a song.
But, I mean,
you know.
I'm saying, you know, maybe you should get compensated for it too, is what I'm hinting at. So there you go. I mean, you do it from your heart, but also.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, we're artists. We, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. Artists, we deserve to get paid for things we do because we put in time, we put in love, we put in research, we put in these things, and we do deserve to get paid. And that's, you know, we shouldn't feel selfish about that.
Right.
So, and there you are.
Yes.
Right. Right. So I would love to hear something if you would play something for us.
Sure. My goodness. Well, you know, it was hard to choose between those Quarantunes, you know, when you had said that you might want me to perform something, but I do have 14 originals. So this one that I'm gonna play, I'll give you a little backstory. This is kind of it's a piece that I wrote with my band in mind, because as I said, way past midnight, we do everything from rock to opera. So I actually wanted to write a song where that was like all the different vocal styles in one song. So anyway, my daughter and her musical theater friends, this is their favorite of my songs that I've written, and they say they listen to it and they've memorized all the words and they sing to it all the time. So, and one of them suggested I write a whole musical around this song, and I'm like, that's an interesting idea. So the premise is, so this is called No Voice for Opera. Okay. And the backstory, well, honestly, the backstory is in my lyrics, so I'm not going to tell it. I'm gonna with my handy dandy microphone.
I love turquoise, it. Turquoise mic.
Yeah, I got to turn it on though. Hold on.
So for everybody listening to the audio podcast, make sure you go to YouTube and check out this original song by Melody Stevens.
Called No Voice for Opera. When I was younger, I struggled to pay the rent. I auditioned for a restaurant to sing for 20 cents and a plate of spaghetti. I sang Mozart or Puccini, I can't remember which. The proprietor didn't like it and told me I was ditched. He said, you have no voice for opera, Puccini, Strauss, or Verdi. No voice for Mozart or Bellini. You can surely bet you'll never work the Met. Opera's not for you. And so I walked out and I got to thinking, which is never a good idea, perhaps I'll try some jazz. Scat it. Da 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 da. If opera's not for me, then I'll sing out of key. folk singing. He said I had no voice, I didn't have a choice. He said I had no voice for opera. He said I had no voice, I didn't have a choice. He said I had no voice for opera. Oh, it's so sad. No voice, 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 no voice. How about some good old-fashioned rock and roll? I have no voice, I have no voice, I have no voice for opera. Yeah, 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 yeah. I have no voice, I have no voice, I have no voice for opera. Yeah, 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 yeah. Although he rained on my parade, I found a better way. On my own I dreamed a dream. Things were not what they seemed. He said I had no voice for opera. He said I had no voice for opera. He said I had no voice, I had no voice, I had no voice for opera.
Wow. Bravo. Bravo. That was fantastic. Fantastic. Wow. That was every genre of music. Almost. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Melody Stevens. That was great. Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
So, true story. I actually did audition for a restaurant, and the guy told me that I had no voice for opera.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually put opera aside because of that for a long time. Yeah. So.
And what did you learn from that experience? You know, it's like never.
Doesn't mean that they're right, and you should take it personally when people criticize you.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Your neck out there, you're going to get criticized.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's it. You absolutely said it. Well, listen, thank you so much for that. Let everybody know how we can get in touch with you if we want to take vocal lessons. You're doing it virtually, obviously, now.
Yeah, it's most of my lessons are virtual. Some are in person. We're just wearing masks, distancing, got to be vaccinated. But yes, most of my lessons right now are virtual. So I teach everybody. I've got a student in Texas, one in Virginia, Delaware, so from wherever. Yes.
Is there an age range or just
my student is 5 and my oldest student is 71.
Okay.
So yeah, so all ages, voice or piano. And my cell phone number, which is my business number, is 732-887-7000, and it's best to get me by text.
By text. Okay. There you have it. Melody Stevens, thank you so much for joining me on OneMicNite podcast. I really appreciate it. That song was incredible. Everyone, please make sure you reach out to Melody Stevens if you want to take vocal lessons. Please expect a call from me because I'm working on a project, Melody. So you may get a call from me. Everybody else, please make sure you follow us for OneMicNite podcast. OneMicNite is spelled OneMicNite. We're OneMicNite on all social medias. You can find this podcast on audio at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast. Go to Facebook, join the artist community at OneMicNite. You can find me at Marcos Luis, everything, MarcosLuis. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know what you think about the show. And I want to thank you for joining me. Also, check it out. I don't know if you noticed, this is the new OneMicNite t-shirt, one of many. Let me know what you think about the t-shirt. Got merchandise coming soon. And I want to thank you once again for joining me for another episode of OneMicNite Artist Session at OneMicNite Podcast. See you next time.